Well, recovery is learning how to live without needing alcohol as a crutch, or for enjoyment.
How do you learn that, Alan?
It requires a complete different outlook, a complete change in thought process to the way we are conditioned into living. Out there in the real world, everyone is conditioned into accepting that alcohol is a part of life. And I had to learn that actually it doesn't have to be. And not only does it not have to be, it can be better without it. Now, and this is straight from the heart, if my life wasn't better without alcohol, I'd be drinking today. In fact, I would be dead today. So the proof of the pudding is that my life is immeasurably better sober without alcohol than it ever was at any time prior in my drinking days. Alcohol for me is nothing more than a toxic poison that I just had to readjust my thought processes on it. I had to see it, take a step back, see it for what it is, learn different ways of dealing with things, of coping with things, identifying scenarios that we are coerced and brainwashed into believing that we have to have alcohol in order to function or in order to fit in order to participate socially. What a load of bullshit that is.
Did you learn this by going through your 12-step program?
I learned it through experience of being sober. No, they don't indoctrinate you in a 12-step program into saying life is better. No, they leave you to discover that for yourself, and that's what's so wonderful about this 12-step program. They don't. There's no doctrine to believe. You see people that have applied these principles, and you were talking to people that are living lives and enjoying themselves and having a better time. And it doesn't mean to say life's not going to be difficult, but you cope with those difficulties in a different way. Alcohol is not a part of that. But nevertheless, even in the most difficult times in sobriety, are better than my best days when I ever drank. But so you follow by example. You see people that are living this way, and you say to I said to myself, right, I want to be able to live like these people there. Not everyone gets it.
These people there, as in when you go to these meetings? Or?
Yeah. So people have proved in their lives that they have a better time without it. So it's suggested that you do certain things, and if you take that suggestion and you apply them, then you discover yourself, and then you want more because you realise that what's being said is the truth,
Yeah.
So you discover it, and it's like I said. The thing is, again, for me, I want to live an authentic life. The person, when I meet people, I want them to meet me. Right? If I drink, they meet somebody else. That's false. I don't want to meet people that are drinking, and they are portraying an image to me that isn't who they are. Even if people have, certain faults or certain I'd rather know that person for who they are. And as long as they're well-meaning and they wish me no harm, then I'll get along with that person even though they have shortcomings. It's not about perfection with people, but I don't. For me, it's a false life to drink and go out and meet somebody because you were displaying a person that's not real. And I like authenticity. I like real.
You found yourself in prison, and when you went to prison, you became sober, I presume.
That was a start.
For a length of time, did that make you see clearer?
Well, it gave me the opportunity to learn a little bit about my predicament. I read Tony Adams' autobiography, the Arsenal captain years ago, when he captained England. I don't know, it's a game called football. It's the wrong shaped ball for me, but you know, my ball's egg shaped. But anyway, this guy Tony Adams, he's a famous footballer, and he wrote his autobiography called Addicted, about his alcoholism. And he was very candid about it, very frank, and a lot of what he said about how he behaved in drink resembled my own experience, you know. So it was fascinating reading this guy's book.
It resonated with you, what you were reading.
Yeah, it was. He doesn't know. We've never met Tony Adams, but if he ever gets to watch one of my videos, Tony, thank you for saving my life, mate. It started. It gave me an understanding of what was going on. You know, and it started from there. I know he's doing good work now. He's got a rehab, I think, for sports personalities and things to try and, you know, because it affects a lot of people. But anyway, he helped me, and he don't know. But.
So you went into prison for 3 months. You came out. See, when you came out, did you have thoughts then? I can help myself now.
Well, I was full of arrogance. You know, I was full of arrogance because even though I knew a little bit more about it, I still thought I could do it on my own. That's like I've said in the past. You know, you said about my qualifications and what I've achieved, and you know, I mean, I'm you know, even with my sport, even as a mature participant, if you like. I mean, I went through all the grades, and I got my black belt, and my second dan in taekwondo, and you know that's taken a lot of effort, a lot of determination. But so I thought that I could crack it on my own. So if you like, I had this knowledge up in my mind of what I'd read, Tony and a few others, and I thought, right, okay, all right, well I'm just going to limit it to a couple of pints. This is why I've said, you know, take Al's challenge. You know, don't worry about drinks diaries that counsellors will give you, right? They're a waste of time, they are, right? You don't need drinks diaries. Work out whatever your drink is that you like. You know, stick with the British guideline, 14 units a week, evenly spaced over 3 or more days, right? And work that out in terms of how many pints that is for you, and go out and stick to that. If you can't stick to it, don't worry about it. You don't need no drinks diaries. You're better off keeping a diary of how much you're spending on booze, because that was one thing I never tallied. But I mean, it was a far greater amount than I would have anticipated. No, you can learn a lot just by limiting yourself to what the guidelines are, and seeing if you can stick to it. If you can't, then you've got a problem, because you can't control your intake.
So you came out and you thought, I'm just going to stick to 2 pints every time I drink.
Yes.
I'll have two drinks and I'll be fine.
Yeah, I was going to have my 2 pints on a Saturday with my curry.
Yeah.
And I was confident that I could do it.
How long did that last?
I don't think it did last. I don't think it did last. I've written all about it in the book. But
Did you get worse when you came out of prison? Difficult to remember.
No, I do remember.
You just continued as before.
Yeah.
Was the rock bottom close to that time?
Oh, I was heading full speed towards it.
Yeah.
There was trying to control my drinking was a waste of time. It was impossible. You know, and the thing was, I remember Caroline was moving in with me at my flat, and I was going to redecorate, you know, for our new start, because I knew now that I was going to be okay, right? Because I'd read this stuff, and there were a couple of low alcohol lagers in the fridge. So my thought again, you know, was, oh well, they're harmless. I'll just have them. But of course, as soon as I had those couple of cans of low alcohol lager, that craving kicked in, and I had to have more. So because I was painting, I was in a good mood. Everything was fine. I was happy. I was excited. This was a new start. So I said to Caroline, pop over to get a quarter bottle of vodka. This is not low alcohol lager now.
No.
This is go get a quarter bottle of vodka. So over she went. She got back, of course, and that was feeling good. That was making me feel excited, jubilant, relaxed. I was doing this painting and it was coming on. Everything was hunky-dory. Not a cloud on the horizon. Of course, what happened as soon as that quarter bottle went, sent her over for another one. And then by the time I'd had that, then I sent her over for a bottle. And by the time I'd started into that, the effect of what I'd had at that point, I changed. My whole personality. I turned into this. From this nice Dr. Jekyll into this infamous Mr. Hyde. And I chased her out of the flat. What it was so that I could carry on drinking.
Yeah.
She was starting to express concerns. She was expressing concerns. Yeah. Don't you think you should stop now, Al? I've been had enough. Remember what you were saying and what you've learned and all this sort of stuff. Now that to me was an irritation because my craving now was boom. It was mass, and she was interfering with me, and I think I was on a bender for a week then. After that, she had gone, and by the time I'd come around off that bender, I trashed everything that I'd been putting together, and that kind of these were big steps down into the abyss.
Yeah.
Which again I've been fortunate because I knew what I needed to do, but I still tried it. I still thought I could handle it.
Control it.
Yeah. But I'd made a promise to Caroline that if I effed up again, that I would surrender to this recovery program. I would get on my knees. I would do whatever they said, because I would have proved beyond doubt that I had no more control over my consumption. Once I started, I was on it and I could not control it. I don't care what counsellors out there say. If you haven't been through it, you don't know what you're talking about. I had no control over that. So as soon as I started, bang, that was it. And it just, it destroys lives, and it was destroying mine. But I made that promise. And when we eventually got back to, it was very, very dodgy ground, because Caroline now she was worried about, she'd been with me long enough to realise that this was just, potential fireworks, and it wasn't going to be a good scenario. But I made a promise, and I knew what I had to do.
Yeah. And having spoke to Caroline, she said, I've asked her these questions, and she said she knew deep down inside somebody was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she was going to stick through it to the end.
The problem is that the person I was sober gradually faded away, because as the drinking increased and the more I was drinking, I got to the point where I was in drink more than I was sober. So the person I was in drink took over. That came to the fore. That surfaced and pushed out the nice Dr. Jekyll, pushed him into the background. So I became more or less that person most of the time. But yes, you could still see this glimmer of a former self, outside of the alcohol. But nobody knew what to do about that. How do you go about saving that individual that's lost in this sea of insanity? I know now, of course. I know. I can see it with such clarity.
So you promised Caroline, if you went off on one of these benders again, I'll get help.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got back together and things were a little bit cloudy, but is that when you thought, I need to do what I say I'm going to do?
Oh, I knew.
Yeah.
I that to me was, for me, that was the end of the road.
And you
I absolutely knew that I couldn't. we wouldn't have had a relationship. It was make or break at that point. I was either going to do what I said and promised I was going to do, or that was the end. That was the end of it. But I was willing, because I proved to myself categorically, as much as determination was at the forefront. And he said, I don't care what counsellors say. And he said, I could not control it. But the next day, that was it. I had to swallow my pride. It still hurt, but I knew. I knew I was alcoholic. I didn't want to admit it, but I knew.
And going to these meetings, Al, how long did you say it took you to actually get this mental picture that actually I can become well again?
Well, I knew from my very first meeting that I went, which was the 1st of March 2001 in Wolverhampton, the Good Shepherd Mission. And I knew, I didn't want to go in really. I mean, I kind of resisted it, because it was, I knew I had to accept the fact that I was beaten. But when I went in and I listened to people there were about 20 people. And I listened to them and it was, I'd come on, I knew I was in the right place, that these people there was such similarity. I thought my experience with alcohol was unique. I thought I was the only one that did these sorts of things. And
you found a family of people that were on the same wavelength as you.
Oh yeah. I mean, and these guys were all from different walks of life. And the chap that met me was a solicitor, and I can picture him now. He was big bounding bloke, and he was bouncing about and he was smiling, and I was thinking, and most of them were smiling. I was thinking, alcoholic smiling, because I hadn't been doing that for a while. And all he wanted to know was, did I want your coffee? And I was thinking to myself, you don't realise, I'm. but it started from there. But I knew I was in the right place straight away. And when I went back to Caroline after that first meeting, and I said to her, welcome to the new me, because I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to stay and do whatever these people suggested, because that was the only thing. They were telling me that they'd been where I'd been, and they'd found this way out, and nobody had said that to me. The doctors weren't saying it, counsellors weren't saying it, and yet they were saying, if you do what we've done, you should experience the same relief. And I thought to myself, well, this can't be true. This is too good to be true. So I went to many of these meetings. I went all over the shop because I was waiting to find the fault.
You went to many meetings in different places?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I went around because I was waiting for somebody to tell the truth that this was rubbish, that they were lying, that this was,
This is my way out.
Yeah, that this was some con really, and they just wanted your £150 membership, you know what I mean? And that never happened. And the more places I went to, the more people and they were smashing, all sorts of people and some had been sober, years, months, but they were in the main. Most of them were living a life that they wouldn't exchange with their drinking days. They were living better lives. Their self-respect had returned. They were enjoying each day, and they were doing things. Again, this notion that you can only enjoy yourself. I mean, what does that say about an individual or as a society, that you have to imbibe a mind-altering drug in order to be sociable? These people I were listening to, they were going off learning to fly. They were going off skydiving. They were going off windsurfing, doing all sorts of stuff, right? Alcohol were nowhere to be seen, but they were having a fantastic time. And these people were living. And they were telling me about how they were having relationships where their families weren't afraid. They weren't worried all the time, and they would, the arguments about drinking and spending money on booze instead of beer. Then all of that had gone. And I was thinking, oh, this is interesting. And every time I went somewhere, you'd get people that would struggle, people struggling and would but then you'd come across people who had this spiritual connection. Again, that was a void that I had inside, and they seemed to be whole. they seem to be complete. And to me, it was such an attractive space mentally to be in. I wanted what I saw. I wanted that, so I stuck with it. Thank God they did, because, as I said, it would have been impossible to conceive a life that I now live.
Well, you have to be ready. Do you think you have to be ready yourself to walk through that door?
I did. I think everyone's different. Some people say to change, the pain of recovery has to be less than the pain of staying as you are. Because recovery is painful, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So the pain of recovery has to be less than the pain of staying, on this. But they also say as well that addiction is a downward spiral. There's no question about that. And some people relate it to a lift that's descending, right? And what they say is, when you start to identify that, like I said, circumstances in life are starting to go a little bit haywire, and really, if you're astute enough, if you have the awareness to realise the connection between that and your drinking, you can step off that lift at any point. You don't have to go all the way down. For me, I did, because that was just peculiar to my arrogance. I felt, I could do it, and I didn't think alcoholism would ever take hold of me. I was too, I was too astute. But I won't. Nobody is exempt. I said that is one thing I do like about alcoholism. If you've got the predisposition and you drink, once you're hooked on it, it's only going one way, unfortunately, and it don't give a monkey's who you are. It can affect anyone, and it does. I love the fact that it doesn't discriminate. But apart from that it's devastating, really, and I wouldn't inflict it on anyone. But it's the recognition. I think the awareness is not out there. People's perceptions of alcohol is that it is this innocuous substance that because you associate it with people smiling and having a nice time, being sociable and interacting, that's an illusion. That's an illusion. But people don't see it. People, even worse, people don't associate, as I said, shortfalls in their lives or problems that they're encountering, whether that's health, psychological, we've already covered, physical. People they'll allow that to take place because it means that they can enjoy themselves. They see and enjoy themselves. For all this expenses will come all the time and object. All these things that is costing them, in addition to the monetary side of it, is somehow permissible because it's associated with your enjoyment. So if you get rid of, you can't get rid of your enjoyment because that's important to you. So you accept all this shit. You put up with it. And you keep putting up with it. Addiction will make sure you keep putting up with even more, to the point where you run yourself into the ground or you die. But you're still enjoying yourself. It's an illusion. Painful.